Digestive System. In this module, we are going to discuss briefly about what is nutrition and nutrient, what is exactly the digestive system means, the different organs which are involved in the process of digestion of the food, and a 3D view to show how the food travels inside the body in the process of digestive system. So let's get started. What is nutrition and nutrient means? In order to keep alive, every organism constantly consumes matter in its cells of unicellular or multicellular organisms, either by degrading the matter to obtain the bioenergy for its vital activities or by synthesizing the various complex biomolecules required for the growth and repair of the body. This continuous consumption of matter by an organism is replenished from the environment. To keep obtaining necessary substances from its environment is therefore the most vital and primary activity or a function of all the living beings. This is called nutrition. It is derived from a Latin word nutri, which means to nourish. The substances which are obtained from it are termed as nutrients. The major nutrients are carbohydrates, proteins, and the fats. Now we have to discuss what stages of nutrition are. If we see this picture, the stages of nutrition, they are in a sequence manner starting with ingestion, digestion, absorption, assimilation, and the last step is, or the last stage is egestion. So we are going to discuss about them one by one. The first is ingestion. It is the first step of nutrition, or we can say the intake of the food inside the body. This ingestion of the food, it takes place through the mouth. Second is digestion. The undigested food is digested with the help of digestive enzymes present in the alimentary canal. It mainly occurs in the duodenum of the small intestine. The partial digestion, it takes place in the stomach area. Third, absorption. After digestion occurs in the system, the smaller molecules that are produced, they get absorbed by the system. This process of absorption of the small molecules, that is termed as absorption. And this absorption, it mainly takes place in the small intestine area of the human body. Fourth stage of the nutrition is assimilation. Assimilation is the accumulation of the nutrients in the cell. The absorbed nutrients are accumulated in the specific cells, and it occurs in the jejunum area of the small intestine. Now coming on the last stage or the last step of nutrition, that is egestion. Egestion is the removal of the remaining waste materials after the absorption. In this process, the feces, or we can say the stool, is removed from the body. And this egestion process, this egestion stage, it occurs through the anus area of the body. Okay, now moving ahead, the next topic, next point which we are going to discuss is what exactly the digestive system is. The food of holozoic animals is always a complex mixture of nutrients and some useless materials. The animals have to extract the nutrients by a complicated process named as digestion. Digestion is the breakdown of large insoluble food molecules into small water-soluble molecules so that they can be absorbed into the watery blood plasma. The organs which help in this process of digestion, they are termed as digestive organs. And the system which is involved in the process of digestion, that is termed as digestive system. If we focus on the division of the digestive system, this digestive system, it is divided into two main parts. First is the alimentary canal and the second is the digestive glands. Alimentary canals contains the different organs in it, according to which the flow of the digestion of the food takes place. We can imagine this alimentary canal in such a way that just suppose there is a one train. एक ट्रेन होती है and एक ट्रेन को अगर हम देखें, ट्रेन काहे से बनी होती है? ट्रेन बनी होती है डिफरेंट कंपार्टमेंट्स की. जब 5-6 कंपार्टमेंट्स मिलते हैं तब एक प्रॉपर ट्रेन फॉर्म होती है, अदरवाइज वो एक इंजन ही होता है। जब इंजन के साथ में और हम कंपार्टमेंट्स अब और डब्बे लगा देते हैं, वो पूरी एक कंप्लीट ट्रेन बनती है और वो एक दूसरे से इंटरकनेक्टेड होते हैं। तो जस्ट सपोज अगर ट्रेन चल रही है एंड आप एक कंपार्टमेंट से एक दूसरे कंपार्टमेंट में, मतलब कि एक डिब्बे से दूसरे डिब्बे में जाना चाहते हो, तो जो इंटरकनेक्शन होता है दोनों कंपार्टमेंट्स के बीच में, दोनों डिब्बों के बीच में ट्रेन के, आप उसके थ्रू एक डिब्बे से दूसरे डिब्बे में जाते हो अगर कोई इमरजेंसी पड़ती है। तो सेम थिंग यहाँ पर फूड की भी है। एलिमेंट्री कैनाल्स के जो ऑर्गन्स हैं वो एक तरह से ट्रेन के वही डिब्बे की तरह आप सोच सकते हो और अपने आप को आप एक खाने की तरह समझ सकते हो। तो जिस तरह से वो फूड डिफरेंट ऑर्गन्स को के थ्रू फॉलो करता हुआ डाइजेशन प्रोसेस कंप्लीट करता है, इन द सेम मैनर हमारी जो ट्रेन है एक पर्टिकुलर प्लेस से दूसरी पर्टिकुलर प्लेस पे जाती है, वो वही सेम प्रोसेस है। सो वी कैन इमेजिन आर एलिमेंट्री कैनाल ऑर्गन्स इन द पैटर्न एक ट्रेन का सफ़र जैसे होता है। सो लेट्स नाउ कम टू द व्हाट एग्जैक्टली द एलिमेंट्री कैनाल इज। द एक्सटेंडिंग डाउन फ्रॉम आवर माउथ opening, that is your oral orifice, to our anus, that is our anal orifice, is our long and coiled alimentary canal, or we can say alimentary tract, which is often also termed as gastrointestinal tract, and in short we say is as GI tract. This GI tract is about 8 to 10 meter long, and the food takes approximately 24 hours to travel the whole length of the food canal. Now, if we talk about the different organs which are involved in the alimentary canal, as you can see in this picture also, the location of the different organs is given to us. What exactly the digestive system in the human body is, where it is located, and the names are mouth or the buccal cavity, pharynx, esophagus, stomach, small intestine, large intestine. And if we see the digestive system, the second part of the digestive system is the digestive glands. So the digestive glands which are present there are salivary gland, liver, and the pancreas. So in the further slides, we are going to discuss about the different organs of the alimentary canal and the digestive glands also, in what manner they work, in what manner where they are located, and what exactly their functioning is. So let's move ahead. First, the alimentary canal part is the mouth, or we can say the oral cavity or the buccal cavity. What it is, we are going to study now. This mouth cavity or the buccal cavity is a space where the food is chewed, softened, and mixed with saliva. It is enclosed by cheeks or side walls, tongue as floor, and hard soft palate as a roof. We can imagine a room there. So your side walls are your cheeks, your tongue is the floor, and a palate is there, which is we can say a roof sort of. Further, if we just go in depth of the buccal cavity or the mouth cavity there, this buccal cavity, it is further divided into some parts there. The first is the taste buds. Taste buds are chiefly present upon the tongue surface. Our taste buds are physiologically specialized in such a way that the anterior end of our tongue feels sweet taste, posterior part feels a bitter taste, side feels a sour taste, and a small part behind the anterior end of the tongue, it feels a salty taste. तो आप इस बात को देख सकते हैं कितनी छोटी सी चीज़ है ये टेस्ट बड्स आपकी टंग पे, पर टंग के डिफरेंट पोजीशंस पे जहाँ पर ये टेस्ट बड्स प्रेजेंट है उसका एक अपना अलग ही नेचर है। अगर वो एंटीरियर एंड पे है तो एक वो स्वीट टेस्ट दे रहा है, अगर वो पोस्टीरियर एंड पे प्रेजेंट है हमारा टेस्ट बड टंग के तो वो एक बिटर टेस्ट दे रहा है, साइड्स में है तो वो एक सोर टेस्ट दे रहा है, और अगर वो एंटीरियर एंड के बिहाइंड सा वहाँ पर है तब वो एक सॉल्टी टेस्ट दे रहा है। तो एक छोटी सी चीज़ है हमारी माउथ के अंदर टेस्ट बड्स टंग पे प्रेजेंट है, पर उसका हर नेचर हर पार्ट पे अलग ही नेचर है। मूविंग अहेड ऑन द नेक्स्ट पार्ट ऑफ द mouth cavity or the buccal cavity, that is the tongue. Tongue is a muscular structure attached to the floor of the buccal cavity. It bears the taste buds on its upper surface and edges to taste the food. It helps in manipulating the food during chewing and swallowing. It also removes the food particles entangled between the teeth. It acts as a spoon. एक चम्मच की तरह ही काम करता है. In ingestion of the food, the taking of the food inside, it is working like a spoon, and it helps in the speaking process also and swallowing the food also. The third is the teeth, which is a part of the buccal cavity. Our teeth are lined, U-shaped, arc-like, as an adaptation to erect face. There are 4 types of teeth. First, incisors, 8 in number, and have sharp cutting edges for biting the food. Second, canines, 4 in number, and have sharp but pointed edges for biting and tearing. Third, each pairs of the premolars, 8 in number, has 2 elevations upon its flat crown for grinding the food. And the fourth one is each of the molars, 12 in number, and has 3 elevations upon its broadened crown for crushing the food. These premolars and molars are termed as the cheek teeth due to their location where they are present, because these premolars and molars are present on the sides there where the cheeks are there, or that's why they are also termed as cheek teeth. There are 2 sets of teeth present there in the whole life history of the human body there, or human beings. That the first set is your temporary or the deciduous teeth, which are total 20 in number, which are going to just drop down after certain age gap there. And the next set of the teeth is your permanent teeth, that is 32 in number. The third molars of both the jaws, the upper and the lower jaws, total 4 in number. They appear very late and are poorly developed and vestigial. And these are commonly now termed as late teeth or a wisdom teeth. These late teeth और wisdom teeth, इन्हीं को हम कहते हैं हिंदी में अकलदाढ़. आपने सुना होगा अपने एल्डर्स से, बड़ों से, कि अकलदाढ़ होती है. That अकलदाढ़ is only termed as your wisdom teeth or late teeth. Now let's move ahead on the next one. Before going to the pharynx, there is one more part which is present between the buccal cavity and the pharynx. That is feces. Feces is a narrow triangular space which separates the buccal cavity from pharynx. It is bounded by 2 arc-like muscular folds. The masses of the lymphoid tissue called palatine tonsils is situated one on either sides in the fossils. These tonsils often become inflamed due to the viral infection, causing a very well-known disease which is named as tonsillitis. Now coming on pharynx. Pharynx, it is a part of the human body and it acts as a passage that connects the digestive and the respiratory system of the human body. It is located right behind the nasal and the oral cavity. It acts as a connection between the mouth and esophagus as well as nose and larynx. The opening of the pharynx is from the esophagus that is present in the human digestive tract, and then it goes to open at a larynx that is present in the respiratory tract. Structurally, if we see, this pharynx is divided into 3 parts. The first is the nasal pharynx, which is present behind the nasal cavity. Second is the oral pharynx, which is situated right on the posterior side of the oral cavity. And the third one is your laryngeal pharynx. They are the lowermost part and starts from the epiglottis and moves to the esophagus. Functionally, these pharynx, they help to make the air warm. These pharynx also help in proper movement of the food to reach the esophagus, and also it plays a very important role in the speech of a person by amplification of the sound which is produced by the larynx. The opening of the larynx in pharynx is guarded by a muscular flap called epiglottis or vulva. It closes the glottis while swallowing to avoid the entry of the food into the windpipe. Okay, the next one, the third organ is the esophagus. Esophagus is a straight muscular tube. As you can see in this picture also, a tube-like structure. This is your esophagus, which is about 25 centimeter long and about 25 to 30 millimeter thick. Its cavity normally remains obliterated by several longitudinal folds of mucosa and distend only on arrival of the food in it. These glands, they produce mucus to moisten and lubricate the lining of the esophageal tube. The fourth organ is the stomach. Stomach is the thickest but a small part of the gastrointestinal tract, into which esophagus opens as shown in the picture also. It is an elongated J-shaped muscular bag which lies in the abdominal cavity just below the diaphragm and behind the liver, mostly on the left of the median line of the body. Structurally, if we see, the stomach is divided into three main sections. First is the fundus, which is the thickest one. Second, corpus, the middle one. And the third is pylorus, the thinnest one. The mucosa of the stomach contains numerous gastric glands which secretes the gastric juices such as hydrochloric acid and mucus enzymes. Functionally, if we see the stomach, it can hold the food until it is partially digested. And on an average, if we see, it can hold around 2 to 3 liters of the food inside it. It also secretes the gastric juices like pepsin, which helps in the curdling of the milk. It also churns the food into fine pulp called chyme there, and it mixes the gastric juices. The water and soluble foods like sugar, alcohol, they are absorbed inside the stomach. Its acid kills the bacteria that enters the stomach along with the food. Now coming on the next organ, that is the small intestine. The first one is your small intestine. So just coming on this small intestine, it is about 6.7 meter, or we can say 20 feet long tube of approximately 2.5 centimeter or 1 inch diameter. Inner linings of the small intestine is produced into fingers or tongue-like projections termed as villi, which on number if we see, it is around 4 to 5 million. These villi generally increase the area of the absorption and contains numerous Brunner's gland, that is your intestinal glands. The enzymes like amylase, lipase, trypsin helps in the digestion of carbohydrates, proteins, lipids and hair oil. Structurally, if we talk about this small intestine is divided into three parts. The first is the duodenum, which is 25 centimeter long and is C for cat, C-shaped in appearance. Its descending limb receives the opening of the bile duct and pancreatic juices. The second is the jejunum, which is about 2.5 meter long, coiled and narrower than the duodenum. The third is the ileum, which is about 3.5 meter long and coiled structure. Functionally, if we see the small intestine, it completes the digestion of a food and it also absorbs the digested food inside it. The next organ which we have to discuss is the large intestine. Large intestine is wider than small intestine, about 1.5 to 1.8 meter long and 6 centimeter wide. It lies curled outside the small intestine in the abdominal and pelvic cavities. If we see the structure of the small intestine, it is divided into three parts. The first one is the cecum. Cecum is a small sac-like structure measuring about 6 centimeter in length and about 7.5 centimeter in breadth. The opening of small intestine into the cecum is controlled by an ileocecal valve, which permits the food to move down into large intestine but not back to the small intestine. From the cecum arises 8 to 10 centimeter long worm-like blind tubes, that is the vermiform appendix, which has no function here and it is a vestigial organ. The second part of the large intestine is colon, which is about 130 centimeter long, uncoiled but inverted U-shaped tube which is divided into 4 sections. The first is the ascending colon, which is 15 centimeter long. Second is the transverse colon, which is 50 centimeter long. Next is third one is the descending colon, which is 25 centimeter long, and the fourth one is the sigmoid colon, which is 40 centimeter long. The whole colon is marked by a tape-like muscular cord called tiny colli and a pouch-like dilatation called gostra, giving it a puckered appearance. The third part of the large intestine is rectum. Rectum is about 16 to 20 centimeter long. It's the rectum's part, that is around 2.5 to 3 centimeter part of the rectum, that is the lowest terminal part, that is termed as anal canal. The mucosa of the anal canal is folded into several vertebral folds, which is termed as anal column. These things you can see clearly in the diagram which is shown about the small intestine and large intestine in the slide. If we talk all together the function of the large intestine, this large intestine, it absorbs the water and electrolytes from the chyme, and it eliminates the resulting feces which mainly contains undigested residue of the food. Now let's move ahead on the next one. Now we are going to see the whole journey of the food, how it takes place in the digestive system. I can understand कि अभी तक बहुत lightly चल रहा था, आप लोग को बहुत प्रॉब्लम आ रही थी, स्मूथ, इतना मज़ा नहीं आ रहा था. नाउ अब आपको जब ये 3D फॉर्म में आप इस फूड की जर्नी डाइजेस्टिव सिस्टम के अंदर देखेंगे, माइट बी अब पॉसिबल जो चीज़ें आपको अभी नहीं समझ में आई थी अब और अच्छे से समझ में आए. सो नाउ लेट्स मूव ऑन दिस जर्नी ऑफ द फूड. Across the whole planet, the human eat an average of about 1 to 2.7 kg of the food a day. That is over 365 kg a year per person and more than 28,800 kgs over the course of a lifetime. And every last crab makes its way through the digestive system comprised of 10 organs. Around 9 meter, containing over 20 specialized cell types. This is one of the most diverse and complicated systems in the human body. Its parts continuously work in a group to fulfill a single task, transforming the raw materials of our food into the nutrients and energy that keep us alive. Spanning the entire length of our trunk, this digestive system, it has 4 main components. First is the gastrointestinal tract, which is a twisting channel that transports the food and has an internal surface area of about 30 to 40 square meter, enough to cover half of a badminton court. Coming on the second one, second is the pancreas, gallbladder and liver. This trio, it breaks down the food using an array of special juices. Third is the body's enzymes, hormones, nerves and the blood, which all work together to break down the food, modulates the digestive process and delivers its final product. Finally, there is a mesentery, a large stretch of tissues that supports and positions all the digestive organs in the abdomen to do their jobs. Digestive process begins before the food even hits our tongue. Anticipating a tasty piece of a food, glands which are present in the mouth start secreting saliva. About 1.5 liters of this saliva liquid is produced each day. Once the food enters inside the mouth, chewing combines with the sloshing saliva to turn the food into a moist lump called bolus. Enzymes present in the saliva breaks down the starch. Then the food reaches at the rim of a 25 centimeter long tube called esophagus, through which it must plunge down to reach the stomach. Nerves in the surrounding esophageal tissue sense the bolus's presence and trigger peristalsis through a series of defined muscular contractions. This pushes the food into the stomach, where it is left at the mercy of the muscular stomach walls, which bound the bolus, breaking it into chunks. The hormones, which are secreted by cells in the lining, triggers the release of acids and enzyme-rich juices from the stomach walls that starts to dissolve the food and break down its proteins. These hormones also alert the pancreas, liver, and the gallbladder to produce the digestive juices, transfer bile, which is a yellowish green liquid that digests the fat in preparation for the next stage. After 3 hours inside the stomach, bolus is now transformed into a frothy liquid called chyme, and it is now ready to move into a small intestine. The liver sends bile to the gallbladder, and which secretes it into the first part of the small intestine, that is duodenum. Here it dissolves the fat floating in the slurry of the chyme so that they can be easily digested by the pancreatic and intestinal juices that have reached onto the scene. These enzyme-rich juices break the fat molecule down into the fatty acids and glycerol for easier absorption into the body. The enzymes also carry out the final deconstruction of proteins into amino acids and carbohydrates into glucose. This whole thing happens inside the lower region of small intestine, that is the jejunum and the ileum, which are coated in millions of tiny projections called villi. These villi create a huge surface area to maximize the molecule absorption and transfer into the bloodstream. Then the blood takes them on the final journey to feed the body's organs and tissues. But this journey is not yet over. The leftover fibers, water, and dead cells are removed during digestion to make it into the large intestine called colon. The body drains out most of the remaining fluid through the intestinal walls. What is left is the soft mass called stool. The colon squeezes this byproduct into a pouch called rectum, where nerves sense it by expanding and tell the body when it is the time to expel this waste. The byproduct of the digestion exits through the anus, and the food's long journey, typically lasting between 30 to 40 hours, is finally completed. So this was the whole journey of the food, in what manner it travels inside the whole body through the digestive system. Now let's move on to the next one. The last part which we are going to discuss is the digestive glands. These digestive glands are of 3 types, as I told you earlier. The first one is your salivary glands. So we are going to talk about the salivary glands here. They produces the watery fluid within enzymes called salivary amylase and mucus. This is called the saliva. In mans and most other mammals, 3 pairs of salivary glands are present, which are, first one is the parotid glands. They are located just in front and beneath the ears. The amylase enzyme produced in the saliva, that is your ptyalin, is secreted by the parotid gland only. Infection of the parotid gland, it causes inflammation and swelling of these glands, and a disease which is termed as mumps, that is caused due to this only. The second gland which is present in the salivary gland is, second type is there your submaxillary gland. Submaxillary gland is located close to the inner side of the lower jaw, on one on each side. And the third one is the sublingual gland. It is present below the tongue. The saliva is slightly alkaline with the pH of 7.2. It lubricates and moistens the food, and the saliva, it helps in the swallowing. It also helps in cleansing the mouth cavity, teeth, and killing the bacteria. The second digestive gland is your liver, which is a large gland in the body, as shown in the picture also. It is reddish brown in color and weighs about 1.5 kg. It lies on the right side of the abdominal cavity, just below the diaphragm. It measures about 1.5 to 2.2 centimeter in all side dimensions and weighs about 1.5 kg. The numerous hepatic cells are present, which produces the bile juice, which is stored in the gallbladder and is released in the duodenum when required. The gallbladder is a transparent, pear-shaped sac-like embedded in one of the liver lobes. As you can see in the picture also, it is about 7 to 10 centimeter long and 2.5 to 3 centimeter wide. It functions as a reservoir for bile and can hold about 30 to 50 ml of bile at a time, and about 600 to 1000 milliliter per day of bile is secreted by the liver. Infection of the liver cells by virus can cause jaundice, and a patient's skin and eyes look pale due to large amount of bilirubin which is present in the blood. The third type of digestive gland which is present there, which helps in the process of digestion of the food, is your pancreas. Pancreas, they are associated with the small intestine and is a diffused pink colored leaf-shaped fish-like gland, as shown in the picture also, lying in the U-shaped loop of the duodenum. Our pancreas is about 12 to 15 centimeter long and 5 centimeter wide. It weighs about 60 to 90 grams. It's a dual gland. Two types. It works in a two pattern. Its exocrine part is formed of acini or pancreatic lobules, whose cells secrete pancreatic juices, which contains the enzyme for digestion of the sugar and proteins. And the second part of the pancreas is your endocrine part, which is represented by the islets of the Langerhans. These produce insulin and glucagon hormones, which are associated with the metabolism of the glucose. The pancreatic duct releases pancreatic juice in the duodenum after combining with the bile duct. So this was the only journey of the digestive gland. In what manner these three digestive glands, they help in the process of digestion. Now moving further. So here I have tried to take out some of the questions based on the material which is provided, which is discussed here with you all. So you can test yourself. And I hope I have tried to just figure out some of the answers of these questions, and it is going to help you in your future life. So thank you so much.